Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Once again, today we are going to talk about Star Wars X-Wing miniatures by Fantasy Flight Games. This one's going to be a little bit different. So with all of Wave 11 spoiled, and the next Aces Pack Guns for Hire announced, now I think is the time, we're coming up in the middle of the year, where it's time to start speculating on Wave 12. I did this last time before Wave 11, and actually some people got this right. They guessed that the Havoc would be out. Not that hard, because it was in Armada already. So I'm just going to pull up the results of a straw poll I did with some members of the community to kind of see what their opinions were on some of these things. So let's jump into it. Alright, now you should see the numbers up. Before we get into that, I'd like to lay out a couple caveats. First of all, there's no mention of any prospective Resistance A-Wing or First Order TIE Advanced Interceptor or whatever those forms actually take, if they actually take anything. Because traditionally, the movie tie-in ships are a tack-on. They're announced differently. They even have different release dates to coincide with the release of the movie. And generally, they don't necessarily fit the normal production of the Wave. You saw this with Wave 10. Neither the U-Wing or the TIE Striker had a condition card, for instance. And generally, they didn't seem on theme with the rest of the Wave. So those are excluded from the poll. I think they're both likely picks because they match each other if they actually work out. But, I don't think they're a core part of the Wave. That's part of my structuring for this. The other thing is that some people have actually suggested some maybe good ones that I didn't put on this list. Ones from the comics, namely like Archangel or the Volt Cobra. I don't think these are likely right out of the gate, mostly because I don't think there's enough background information on them. There's not enough technical information. Because it took until Wave 11 for the Ozotuck to come out. And that was first seen, and primarily the material in the game seems to be drawn from its appearance in the pilot movie for Rebels, and Rebels is about to start its 4th season. So this was before Season 1 even premiered, was when that ship was shown. And it actually had some, technical background information done on it, and, some kids' work and stuff. So, while I think either of those ideas might be okay, and personally I'd be interested to see some, crew cards maybe for some of the Darth Vader comic characters, or Dr. Aphra comics now. But I don't know if there's enough base for FFG to pull from yet. They even think those are good ideas yet. But we'll see. Third thing is, this list isn't like a favoritism list. You might think it is based on some of the things you can see, but it's not. Personally, I really hope the TIE Hunter gets in. I think that's plausible with the TIE Aggressor in, but it's not on the list because I don't think it's likely right away. Similarly, I also want the Zeta-class cargo shuttle because I love that little space turtle. I don't think that's likely right away because it was only in Wave 10 that the Imperials got another shuttle. So I pulled those out of there. I don't necessarily think those are likely. So let's look at these numbers. You'll notice at the top, lots of people think the Resistance Bomber is going to be coming. I put this one in even though I've got the normal movie tie-in rule because, one, out of actual prospective ships from The Last Jedi, I think this is the one we actually know the most about. There's been a Lego set leaked. You could see them very clearly in the trailer. Lots of other stuff. It's entirely possible based on the fact that The Last Jedi was delayed several months. That FFG could have background material on this, and barring the Falcon, the Heroes of the Resistance re-release, there's not actually a Resistance large ship yet, and so this could be a great way to get some of those back in. Now, I was surprised that you'll see a lot of people repping the Mining Guild tie for Scum. I don't necessarily think this is likely right away, given that Lightseek came out this year. Now Scum have 2 swarm options. I don't know if we're going to go that route right away, because that's totally what that ship would be, probably. There's no reason for it to be like the Rebel tie. If FFG does do it, I hope they treat it as a Mining Guild tie, not just a TIE fighter again, and actually do some different things. Like maybe they play with the dial a little bit, keep the cost the same and give it an illicit slot, something like that. That I think would be interesting. The model will probably be pretty good with the little, Pac-Man wings. I'm just not so sure it's coming right away. Lots of people obviously are still interested in the assault gunboat. I actually do think that's a likely possibility if FFG wants to continue this trend of Imperials as the double missile faction. There are 2 prominent ideas I can think of, and the other one is the TIE Oppressor, which I don't think will be in because it's not as mechanically interesting as the assault gunboat and hasn't actually appeared, other than I think in some art assets, in the FFG material. The assault gunboat has appeared in the living card game and the RPG lines. So I think that's more likely. I know some people are just fanatical about it, but it would be a very popular choice. It would sell well. People are still cynical about Scum. I mean, I even wrote this answer, but honestly, I'm at kind of a loss as what's coming for Scum. I don't really know what they're going to do with them in the not-too-distant future. I will say that based on the numbers of ships for each faction, I think Wave 12 will be a double ship for the Scum faction release, I should say, because they're a ship behind, and if there's a movie tie-in, they'll be like 2 ships behind, not even accounting for how the H6 is also a Rebel ship, you know what I'm saying? So, I know that's not going to make people happy, but I think that FFG will probably want to keep relative parity of the factions. They might not want to wait until, like, the Han Solo movie comes out, and then they can tack in a couple extras there. Maybe they will. I don't know. We'll see. Personally, you want my strongest contenders. We're looking at the middle of the pack here, decent representation. But given the prominence in some of the Star Wars Battlefront 2 trailers, that game is going to release later this year. I think that the V-Wing and the N1 are pretty prominent choices. I think they're definitely coming at some point, especially the N1, because it was in the comics. It's got some pilots we want, like we could have a pilot card for Princess Leia. I also think that it'll be good because it has a chance to release more astromechs. That's something I want to cover in a different video, how FFG treats astromechs. But yeah, I think those are both probable, definitely possible. You could do a lot of things. Now, I know some people say that the V-Wing would be Scum or Rebels, but in the new canon, there's not really any major reference to it being used post-Clone Wars by anybody but the Empire. And sure, it's only for a few years, like 5 or 6 years, maybe a little later for the Empire in those books and stuff that's coming out. But it's still used by them and could very easily be pulled into something as a ship. I mean, we have a Cad Bane crew card and a Asajj Ventress pilot card. So there's definitely some wiggle room in the setting of X-Wing miniatures to put them in. Plus then you might get, Grand Moff Tarkin as a pilot card. Won't that be fun? The other ones at the bottom, they're more debatable. I think Phantom 2 is likely at some point, if only because that gives them an excuse to put out more Rebels characters as pilots and stuff, lets them do something different than the attack shuttle. There are a couple characters from Rebels who don't have crew cards, like Ahsoka, that you could pull in there, do some stuff with. Once again, that's an opportunity maybe for astromech cards. You could make Chopper as a unique astromech rather than just a crew card, that kind of stuff. The TIE Reaper, I think, is the most likely of the Rogue One ships remaining to make it, if only because it's got a different aesthetic, and it is definitely a TIE. And it'll be interesting to see if it has 1 to 2 agility and can take lightweight frame, or what its bank maneuvers are like if it can take Twin Ion Engine Mark II. You'll notice the Comarch transport or the Gauntlet transport, that's way down at the bottom. That's not likely. I don't think it's likely either. The ship has a very unfortunate scale for X-Wing. Even if you fudge it based on the official Lucasfilm numbers, it's in a very awkward place where it's significantly shorter, it's noticeably shorter, maybe I should say, than Gozantis and Searoks, the smallest epic ships, which are already kind of fudged anyway, but it is definitely longer than the Ghost, the largest small ship in the game. And I don't care what the Force and Destiny RPG says, it should be a Silhouette 4. But it's also got the problem where it's got a wingspan that's almost as, long across as it is forward. Even if it could rotate up, it's still a huge ship. Not literally a huge ship, but like in miniature size, it's a huge ship. Again, that doesn't help mechanically. I think it would be on a large ship base, if anything, but it doesn't fit well there to scale. On the other hand, if the Resistance Bomber is on the smaller side of what people are thinking about, based on how it looks in the trailer, maybe a couple of TIE FOs tall, that's definitely something you could fit vertically on a large base and save some space that way. So that's basically the poll results. Those, I think, are fairly likely attempts, any of these, to guess what'll be coming. There's obviously the chance FFG could come completely out of nowhere with the ship nobody's expecting. They've done it before. It actually happened a lot in Wave 11. It was all stuff nobody guessed, except for the Havoc. And as I said earlier, that was kind of an obvious guess for Scum because it was already in Armada. So we'll see. Presumably, Gen Con comes up. There'll be an early release of Wave 11 available there, and there might be a announcement from FFG there. That's where Wave 10 premiered last year, and that'll be in August, so that's a couple months away. So we'll see. If you like this video, please like it. If you have a comment about it, especially if you think any other ships might be possible, you disagree with any of my ideas, feel free to drop a comment below. And if you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe. Thank you.